Oh no, don't say those words.
No, Apples to Apples is the only game I will burn if someone tries to bring it in my house. The only one.
Welcome to the Kindred Spirit Podcast, a program completely dedicated to the board game Spirit Island. On this show, we examine and discuss every aspect of the game, whether they be general tips, in-depth strategies, or silly shenanigans. Today, we talk about solo play. Although Spirit Island is renowned for its cooperative gameplay, it can offer you a unique experience whether you're playing with one spirit by yourself or multiple spirits at the same time. We are joined today by YouTuber and fellow Spirit Island fan, Solo Playthroughs. Greg, welcome to the show.
Happy to be here.
Hey, Greg! Woo! I don't like him though, he hates shadows.
What?
Get off!
Heresy!
Heretic!
Hey!
Greg's here!
Yeah! I'm excited! Howdy!
Hey,
Thanks
Greg.
for joining!
Yep.
This is where you speak. You talk
You
now.
scared me for a second. I thought the sound died.
He's just frozen.
Died out. I know.
Oh, man, I'm happy to be here.
No.
I got distracted, man.
Hey, we got Greg on.
Yeah! So, tell us a little about yourself. Who are you?
Yeah, my name's Greg. Obviously, we got that established so far. I run the YouTube channel Solo Playthroughs, do a lot of games, but Spirit Island is the most featured game by probably a good 5-10 videos, Maid's Night being second. And it was really the Spirit Island community that first embraced my channel as something that wasn't utter garbage on YouTube.
What, are there not Mage Knight fans out there?
But yeah, it was like really the Spirit Island community that really helped me kind of grow and gave me a chance to see some returns. And I was like, all right, let me actually learn how to do this thing better and get better audio and better video and learn how to edit videos and do a little more content. So I really appreciate that. But yeah, as the channel has grown, my love for Spirit Island has definitely grown along with it and just really had some really great interactions with the Spirit Island community.
Right on. How long have you had your channel?
2 years this week, really.
Whoa,
This
congratulations.
This week?
Happy anniversary.
What? Is this like an accidental celebration of your 2-year anniversary?
So I'm doing a live playthrough on
What?
Wednesday. I'm doing Zed's. I wouldn't normally do a 4-hour live playthrough, but I'm doing it because it's my 2-year anniversary.
What?
That's awesome, Greg.
This is completely coincidental. What a week, huh?
Yeah.
What a week. That is so cool.
When I first started, my first 8 videos were all Arkham. That was the original plan. And then I did a Spirit Island video on a whim. And that was the second game I featured and picked up more subscribers. And I was like, all right. And then so kind of went back to that well a few more times.
Why that whim? What made you just like, okay, I'll play Spirit Island now?
Yeah, it just seemed like it would be contained. And from a time standpoint, it seemed like it's something I can get on camera and do it well enough that it would make a decent video. Didn't seem to be that much Spirit Island content on YouTube at the time, or at least not content that I wanted to watch. So.
No, that's totally fair. That's one of the reasons why we started, was because when I started to get into the game, I was like, whoa, this thing is awesome. I just wanted to dive in like head over heels. And so I was just scrounging for content, just devouring it as much as I could. And there wasn't anything that was
much.
Exactly what I was looking for. And this is just like one of those,
Be the change you want to see in the world.
you know what I mean? So I was just like, well, if no one else is going to do it, why can't I?
Yeah.
You
Uncle
know?
Sam wants you.
Yeah.
I think my first playthrough was like lightning against level 1, something or other. And then I kind of worked up. My sweet spot on the channel was like level 3, 4 for a long time. And now I'm mostly playing level 5s. I got a level 6 series coming up.
Ooh.
And then we'll see where I go with it. Jagged Earth was just an idea. I was skeptical, to be honest. The expansion just blew me away how good it is. And
Seriously.
so 24 spirits and 7 adversaries. I mean, there's no end to content. I mean, Spirit Island is a content creator's dream because there's, I can make a Spirit Island video any day I want. I will have something I can do. It's really good.
Aspects, we got scenarios. There's so much.
The replayability is ridiculous. Because you can even play the same character in the exact same game, and just how you played that character
Oh,
would
yeah.
be completely different.
Board tiles, thematic, arcade.
Right, the cards that you got in the
Yeah.
Invader deck
deck, the Blight card that you had, the events, the fear cards. Heck, even if you don't use events, the fear cards are going to be different.
Beast Command, yeah, sure.
Right. The power cards that you find, it's ridiculously different.
Yeah, trying to get all the scenarios on has been a challenge. I did one no event playthrough. It's a minority, I think, at this point, but definitely there are players that hate that event deck so much and just want to do the no event playthroughs. And that's fine. It is what it is.
So that's Ryan.
About that.
Look, I'm not going to lie. I mean, there are definitely times I want to throw that event deck out the window, but I love the unpredictability that it adds to the game.
I love the thematic feel. You know, they make the island feel like a living, breathing,
unpredictable.
Yeah, I do.
100%.
Really like that.
I mean, when I first played just the base game, I liked it. I mean, Spirit Island was like, all right, it's cool. I like the puzzle. There was definitely a time in my life where I was going through some things. Like, Spirit Island was my thing. It just, like, got me through, like, a couple of weeks where I just needed to focus on something that wasn't life. But when I really added Branch and Claw and had the event deck was when I really grew to love the game. It's like, oh my gosh, like, it's so much deeper and more dynamic. And it didn't give me that deterministic feel anymore in a way I really wanted in the game. You know, now it's my favorite game.
And those tokens,
dude,
too.
Branch and Claw.
It adds so much. Great spirits.
It makes the world that already felt big even bigger.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
The best way.
The other thing I find really interesting about it, and I said this to Eric Royce, you know, when he was on my channel a while back, was that I feel like a lot of games, when they add content, it feels like it's a game that has added content. But with Spirit Island, in a way, it feels like it's revealing more of the island that already existed. You just didn't know about it yet, in a way that's so cool.
Branch and Claw was intended to be a part of the base.
Oh, yeah.
And I cannot recommend Branch and Claw enough to people. And one of the reasons why is because, hey, Mr. So-and-so that I'm talking to, this expansion, quote unquote, was intended to be with the original game. So it's not just something that's just tacked on. It's thoroughly integrated. Yeah. Those tokens, those events, those the power cards, oh my word.
Right. Hearing Eric Royce talk about how he had to separate out the original planned power card decks, and he had to get it down to elemental pairing combos and still keep all the powers in that he wanted in the base game.
That had to be a nightmare.
Yeah, I could not imagine.
It was funny when you were talking about how this game was like a content creator's dream. I cannot tell you how many people I've spoken to where they're like, oh, you have a podcast? What's it about? I'm like, oh, it's a board gaming podcast. Oh, cool. What do you do? And then they learn, oh, yeah, it's just about one. Like,
what do you talk about?
One
Just
game?
One board game?
I'm like, oh, yeah, we've been going for like a year and a half. Like, really? Like, how long can you do that? I'm like, well, so long as literally nothing changes with the game ever. Right now, we can go for another 84 weeks. Like, what?
Oh, yeah.
No. I'm like, yeah, actually. And usually these are people who have, like, no idea how cool modern board games are.
No.
Because they're thinking, like, Boggle, Sorry, Battleship, Stratego,
Risk,
Risk, you know, these kind of things. And so it's like, well, allow me to introduce to you how awesome modern day board games are. You know,
and it's interesting because the only other game that I play regularly that I think you could say the same thing about from just like a content creation standpoint is probably Arkham.
Yeah.
You know, but Arkham had like dozens and dozens of expansions. Spirit Island had like 3 boxes, and it's still like the same expansive feel where just so much going on.
And there's more to come.
And we played the base game in 2017 for like 3 years. And we're loving it, you know, so... How long have you been doing board gaming? Has that been like a lifelong thing for you?
I grew up in a family that played board games, so that's fine. And you know, we played our Parcheesi and our Yahtzee and
Apples to Apples.
And,
oh no, don't say those words.
No, Apples to Apples is the only game I will burn if someone tries to bring it in my house. The only one. I mean, you know, Cards Against Humanity is a close second.
There was like
get rid of that one too. Get rid of that one too.
In time, there was just like Apples and Apples for like 6 years straight.
I brought Apples to Apples. It's like no.
So bad.
Helen Keller is always the best card, and my brother one time the card that round was touchy feely, and so he put Helen Keller. It was like, oh no!
You gotta spell out water.
He won.
Oh yeah. So yeah, I was a poker player coming out of college. That was like my gaming fix.
Texas Hold'em? Is that your favorite style? Like that version of it?
I was more like a limit specialist. So yeah, I would play limit hold'em, but I'd play like Omaha high-low, stud high-low. Those were like the games.
Okay.
I was a semi-professional for a while, and that's how I was kind of earning my cash on the side. But poker kind of got boring to me, and just found board games again. And Catan was a game that I played.
We all did.
That was another one. Yeah.
It had its role in my gaming life, but then it was really Scythe was the first time I really got into solo board gaming. I have a close friends that I live close by too. We all kind of spurred each other on, and Steve picked up this game, and Rich picked up this game. Rich got Gloomhaven, whatever, and we just started, finding out.
Did you say Scythe as a solo game? Have I been playing it wrong?
Oh yeah. That was the problem with Scythe for me. Like I got so good at it because I played it so much solo that my gaming group won't play it with me for good reason. It's not fun for anybody. Like it's just, like I'm gonna win 99 times out of 100, not because I'm an amazing Scythe player. So I played so much more than you. Like
yeah.
Oh, and by the way, the Rise of Fenris is absolute garbage. That is a hill I'm willing to die on.
Shots fired, Greg.
An awful expansion.
I wouldn't know. I haven't played it yet.
Do not let your brother convince you to play Scythe Rise of Fenris.
I just play the Rustviets and win.
And win. Scythe was also like a introductory thing for me into modern day board gaming. So I find that like, wow, how about that? Like for you too.
Twinsies.
How about that? Just like a coincidence, small world kind of thing.
Yeah, my wife, we started playing Terraforming Mars a lot. And that game, like, kind of outgrew. Like, it's fine. I'll play it with her if she wants to. But I just, I really got into the co-ops. Arkham LCG, Mage Knight, picked that up. Absolutely fell in love with Mage Knight, and the Spirit Island, was right there. So it really, I would say the last 5 years has been, the bulk of my journey into, like, modern board games in any serious way. And now I can't find room in my basement for more games.
At least you have a basement. I wish I had a basement. I miss it. I forgot how much storage you can fit in a basement. And now I'm acutely aware, living in a ranch, how much storage I don't have.
You have a garage.
Yes. Filled with all my landlord stuff.
See, my wife and I, we foster teenagers. So before we brought in a foster kid, we wanted to get our basement finished.
Yeah.
And we had a little bit of a gap in the time we finished our basement. Before we brought in the kid, the basement became my game room dungeon. So now the kids get upstairs, they get that living room. This is mine.
Welcome to my dungeon.
And then my friend and I built a board game table that weighs like 200 pounds and can't leave this basement. So it's like...
What?
That's so cool, Greg.
That is dope. Okay, I'm like...
Cool.
I want a board game table. I have my dining room table.
No, this table I play on, I was pricing up gaming tables. Like, there's no way I'm spending that much money. Number one. Number two, there's no way my wife will let me spend that much money. My friend's like, I have all these power tools. I'm like, great. I'll look up how to make a table.
If you want to see this awesome table, go to youtube.com/solo playthroughs.
I love this thing, man.
Are there any particular kind of game genres that you are fond of? Whether it be like cooperative or maybe, I don't know, maybe like legacy or worker placement?
Social deduction?
Social deduction. Yeah, like is there any kind that you particularly enjoy? Or avoid perhaps?
Yeah, well, I tend to avoid worker placement and I have to really be drawn to something about it if I'm going to play it. I'll play it with my friends. Like I play Caverna a lot with my gaming group because they like it and that's fine. But definitely not my go-to. Deck building, I've kind of waned on a little bit. Like Aeon's End is good, but
that is a fun one, but that one's tough.
It can be really tough. Solo, especially, can be really tough if you're playing by the standard rules with just 2 Nemesis cards, so 3 turn order cards. So that's a game that I'll play. Social deduction is definitely not for me. If my friends want to play a game, I'll play it. Like I'm not that guy who's gonna like make it a miserable experience. I'll have fun.
Yeah.
But when it's me, like my preferred games, like I really like the puzzly feel. So I mean that goes from Too Many Bones and Cloudspire through Mage Knight, Spirit Island. Like I want to have something that I'm really like sinking my teeth into and getting my head like totally engaged in. The more immersive, the better. My third favorite game is like Dawn of the Zeds from Victory Point Games, and that's like wildly different from Spirit Island and wildly different from Mage Knight. So I mean, I'll play a wide variety of games. I wouldn't say I'm like an omni gamer because there are definitely genres that aren't my go-tos and not my preferred. But like, if the game has good strategic decisions and isn't too easy, I want games that I'm gonna lose a fair amount. Like it's just I don't know, I'm a sadist in that way. I guess.
Like a challenge.
I want it to be a challenge. Like I want to be able to push myself, and I want it to have some level up that I can push myself to the next level, and like I can get better. If I can sink my teeth into a game and feel like I'm getting better and better, and I still have more depth that I could get even better, like the more I play it, like that's the kind of stuff that I like wrap my head around.
Well, it makes complete and total sense that Spirit Island is a game that'd be right up your alley.
Yeah. Talk about a game you can sink your teeth into.
Yeah, for real.
No, the level up, the different levels of adversaries built into the base game, and you're like every adversary you can play at 7 different levels if you count level 0. It's like so good.
When did you come to Spirit Island?
Yeah, I mean, for me, it was right around that time, 2017, 2018, where I was just kind of on Board Game Geek and looking at the top games. And Spirit Island was definitely shooting up the charts, and seeing that it was soloable made it attractive to me and picked it up and kind of haven't looked back. You know, because I said a little bit earlier, it was like my first few experiences, I was like, yeah, I like it. It's okay. It felt a little deterministic and presented a decent challenge. And then as I started going up the adversaries, I had a goal. I wanted to beat each adversary on level 6.
Okay.
And this was just with basic game content. So when I accomplished that and I added Branch of Claw, that's when I was like, oh, wow. This is a whole world of a game that I'm going to love forever. Because it was so freaking good. But and Fangs is probably my favorite character still.
Whoa. I didn't know that, Greg.
Yes!
Yeah. I love Fangs.
Oh!
He's so fun. I don't think Fangs is the best. I think Many Minds is the best, but Many Minds I find boring.
Oh.
Yeah.
Oh, man. We have a listener that you just made very happy.
Oh, I think Many Minds is
that
so
right,
good.
TFs.
They're so sick. I mean, they have an answer for everything, dude. They're defending everything. They're generating fear like crazy. Like, they're moving Dahan around. Oh, it's nuts.
Yeah.
Especially in solo.
Oh, my goodness.
Oh, yeah.
And we'll get into that, too. But I think they're a very solid solo pick.
Oh, they're
I really do.
disgustingly good solo. Yeah, they're great. They're really good.
So, given the fact that Spirit Island as a game is very famous for how good it is as a cooperative game, some people, when they look at various games and they examine them, they look at them as, okay, this is how it is in multiplayer, this is how it is in Legacy. And some games, they'll say, it's 1 to 4. Or whatnot. But that doesn't necessarily mean that every multiplayer game equates to having a good solo mode. And I've seen many people on YouTube and heck other websites analyze games based on their solo modes exclusively. So I'm curious, as I ask this question to you specifically, since your channel is about solo gaming and whatnot, would you recommend Spirit Island as a good solo game to someone who exclusively does solo gaming, or perhaps maybe doesn't have a group of friends that they can play this with? Is it worth that investment?
Yeah, well, I mean, the nice thing about Spirit Island is the flexibility, because even if you want to, you can play so many spirits at once. I mean, I've never played more than 2. I have no interest or desire to play more than 2 at one time. I mostly play true solo with just one spirit. I like that immersion. I like the fact that the games are quicker. There's less upkeep. There's less overhead. You do lose a little bit of something with some of the powers. You lose some of the synergies you can create between spirits. But I play so much with friends as well that I get all that when I play with my friends. So I play a lot of 2-handed and 3-handed games. Easily, like more so than any other game. Like I've had at least 5 friends who have played Spirit Island with me and then got on and bought it. So like they just want it. Like my friend Steve lives across the street, and after like a year and a half of just playing here, he's like, man, I just need my own copies. I do want to play solo. It is what it is. You look, if you just want it for solo, I mean, it's my favorite solo game. Like it's up there. Maze Knight's number 2, then Zed's and Arkham Horror LCG and all the big names. But I mean, Spirit Island gives you more variety and more replayability as a solo player than any other game you could ever invest in. Plus, if you compare the price point of Spirit Island to some of the other top solo games, like looking at you Chip Theory games, like your investment is amazing. Like it's incredible the return for your money that you're getting out of this game. It's really sick.
Talk about solo play versus true solo. Do you have like a preference? Do you usually play one or the other?
Well, a dissection of that term, because I actually have a gripe with that.
Okay.
Because like it's the smallest
gripe. I think you're gripe about this.
Because
I don't know your gripe about this. What is your gripe, Ryan?
The term solo means one. So we've now come to normalize the term true solo, which is very redundant to me. Now, when I thought about this, I was wondering, when people say solo, are they referring to the number of human players or the number of spirits? Because some people say solo means how many human players. So, I did a solo game where I played 4 people. Or, I did a solo game where it was me, but I played 1 character. For me, I think it just makes more sense that the word solo pertains to the number of spirits.
Oh, Greg, how do you define it?
I think my natural inclinations would have been with Ryan, but I think in common usage now, like solo just refers to the number of players. I mean, take like Dawn of the Dead, for instance. You're always playing with 4 heroes, but it's a renowned solo game. I mean, Gloomhaven, you can play solo, but you have to use 2 characters unless you're playing the special solo scenarios. Right? So I think that it's just understood now that solo is, hey, there's 1 person, but how many heroes, characters, spirits are you playing with? I think that's going to be up to the person. But I mean, you could say the other way, Ryan. If they're playing more than 1 spirit, they're playing false solo. So it's
false solo.
It's false, fake solo.
So,
not my solo.
No, I prefer true solo. Number 1, you can play more games. Number 2, there's upkeep. There's less chance for making a mistake. I think there's something a little awkward. I'm like, I'm going to look at this hand of cards, pick my powers. I have to look at this hand of cards now. I pick my powers. I think True Solo lends itself more to the video format. So obviously on the channel, it's what I highly feature more than the two-handed playthroughs. But that said, I get more hits in my two-handed playthroughs than the True Solo.
Greg, I was going to say, I like you working out when you are playing two spirits. And like you have this internal dialogue that obviously you're talking, but you're like, I can play this, and then this goes with Bringer, which then leads Green to do this. I like the ebb and flow of when you are playing two-handed.
Right. I do think people are more drawn to the two-handed, and the numbers bear that out. I get definitely more hits by probably a good 10-20% when I have two spirits on there. I mean, it's a lot more work for me.
So Greg's lazy. Okay.
So how much is that worth to you?
Yeah, no. I mean, but yeah, just my preference is I play one spirit. I just like the game more in that way and how I experience it. But I think a large part of that, if I was never playing with my friends on the side, I might want to play more two-handed stuff. But I mean, I'm taking on level 6 adversaries with my friend Tony. I'm playing level 5 adversaries with Steve.
Hey there, Editing Ryan here. I just wanted to come in and clarify something by defining a term that this community uses often. If you interact with the Spirit Island community, you will come across the term two-handed, three-handed, or multi-handed. This is a term that refers to the amount of characters that a single human player is controlling. Two-handed means that they're playing 2 characters. Three-handed means 3, and so on. Multi-handed simply means any number of characters beyond just 1. Alright, Greg, back to you.
I do a number of like three-handed playthroughs with friends, and three-handed, the board just looks so nice and circular. It's great.
Right? Yes!
It's the perfect island.
Yes, that's the biggest selling point for 3-player games. It's the perfectly circular island.
It looks so pretty.
It's so aesthetically pleasing.
I'll tell you what, most of my three-handed playthroughs, though, it's like me, one of my friends who's really good at the game, and then be it Zach, Steve, Tony, whatever. And then we're introducing somebody else to the game. So we're always playing like level 3, level 4. They're playing with lightning every time. And I know there's like, is that the best beginner spirit? On my table, it is. So like we do that. And maybe I'll play green just to kind of help them out depending on how much of a gamer they are. Yeah, it's funny, man.
You start them off at level 4, Greg? That's pretty high for a beginner.
Level 3, level 4, it depends.
Ooh. Okay.
I don't know.
In our game with Hepsbok, we had Bob come in. It was like, hey, Hepsbok, here we go.
Level 6, here we go. So yeah, I guess I can't be one to talk.
Yeah.
So you like multi-spirit games with other people, it sounds like, better than multi-handed.
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
I just get so many more playthroughs done True Solo. They're just so quick.
But to me, all right. My soapbox real quick. I feel like that's the perfect synergy is when you are playing multi-spirits because you're not like a selfish player thinking of yourself.
Yeah, it's all happening in your own mind.
It's all happening and like, I know River needs this because I'm playing River, so Green's going to do this for River. But if you're like, River's over there across the island and someone across the table, they're thinking about themselves. They probably want to help me out, but they're thinking about them first. I don't know.
Right.
Have you ever had that fun thing where you're like, okay, I'm going to play this card because of this reason. Okay, I'm going to do this. Oh, yeah, this character is set.
Yeah.
Cool. Go to player 2. Okay, I'm going to do this. I'm going to do this. Oh, you know what? I could totally do this, and the other player could totally help out with this. Go back to them. Okay, I'm going to change this and go back. Oh, shoot, I forgot they were doing that.
Yeah.
I think some of it, too, is almost like an analysis paralysis before you even get into the game, right? You're just like,
you're staring at
what am I
the
going
board.
to play with, right? And you could totally cheese it. I mean, you can get some combos that are just so broken, like, if you know what you're doing and you get the right power cards or whatever, it's like, oh, okay, whatever. And I just feel like there's a swinginess in True Solo play, but there's a level of challenge that's more predictable going in.
Okay.
And I like just cycling through the different spirits and like really kind of digging into the one spirit, what makes them tick. I think the weaknesses of each spirit are so much more exposed when you're True Solo. Yeah. And learning how to cover for that. Getting comfortable going Blight Island early with some of these spirits, learning what that means, I think has been a big part of like where I've grown to love this game. But absolutely. I mean, I think my level 6 playthroughs weren't not fun. They were just a lot. So, I will do them more. There are some spirits I won't play True Solo. I find Finder and River like really boring True Solo. It's the same game. Get everything in one land and kill it all. It's like, all right, that's much more interesting when there's another.
It's not the same game. It's not.
John is.
Yeah.
There's more to that.
Those are his 2 babies, Finder and River.
I mean, the Finder.
Which makes sense though, because if you like multi-spirit games, that makes so much sense. They
That's
come
true.
alive a lot more.
Good point.
A ton more in multi-spirit games. But solo, it's like it's a pretty small island, so they're just like, we'll put everything here and blow it up eventually. We're good.
Massive flooding. It'll happen soon.
Riding deep on a 1-player board.
Sacrifice victory? You were talking about playing games with your friends. What's the biggest game you've played?
I've never played more than 3.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Do you want to go to 6?
No.
Okay. All right, there's that answer.
That answer was fast.
I have no desire. I tell you what, my wife's cousin, I introduced him to the game, and he's like kind of grown into it. He has a friend out in Seattle. He's playing the game some more, and he's like, "Oh, I played a 6-handed game," and I was like, I texted him back. I was like, "Dude, that sounds terrible." It just sounds not fun at all. It just sounds long.
With the
and
experience.
if everyone knows the game, I think it'd be great. But everyone's got to know the game. I don't want to do a 6-handed teaching game.
Yeah, I can definitely see the temptation of almost requiring people to be familiar with the game prior.
Oh, yeah.
Otherwise, it's just going to take very long. I can definitely see that.
So favorite player count is 3, sounds like?
Favorite 1.
1, dude.
Well, I just meant like...
Let me ask solo playthroughs what their favorite
I meant for multiple people.
For multiple people, I mean, it's prettier with 3. I like 2. I like the synergy with 2. I like,
okay.
Again, you're still a little bit exposed. You're just kind of puzzling it out together. And I think you can just do more with 2 and the game still maintain a pretty solid pace.
I feel it. So...
Brings out the rule book. Can you hear that at home, listener? Flap, 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 flap.
There we go. The Foley artist here.
The crazy Spirit Island oversized rulebook.
It's got pretty pictures. Shut up. It's so pretty.
It's wide. This thing is crazy.
But all the pictures.
I actually do really like this rulebook.
I mean, it's one of the better ones, but the layout's a little much the first time you look at it. It's like, what is happening in this thing?
So let's talk about how this game feels at different player counts. Because more so than other games, I really do believe that this game, at just one player difference, whether it's one less or one more, actually definitely changes the way that the game feels. The experience is different, you know. Obviously, the game is intended to be co-op, but let's see what the book has to say about solo modes. Solo games work much like normal games, but with a single board as the whole island. The only difference is that you can target yourself with powers that specifically target another spirit, though you do not gain extra benefits from powers that are better when used on another spirit, like Gift of Constancy or Elemental Boon, for example. Also, the luck of the draw is high, and you have no fellow spirits to compensate for your spirit's weaknesses and limitations. So that actually is very much to a point that you made, too, with the fun of having another teammate with you. Because there can be a yin-yang there, because you will very quickly learn the capabilities, or lack thereof, that your character has in true solo play.
We didn't even talk about double board. You ever do a double board
Yeah,
solo?
that's a new thing that came with
Action boards are fun. I like action boards.
Double board solo is like really interesting.
Yeah, and to those who are unfamiliar with that, there's a mode of play that you can do where even though you may have one player, you have an additional board. Now, you don't have to do this with True Solo. You can just add an additional board to whatever game you have. Even if us three were to play a 3-player game where we all played one spirit each, if we wanted to increase the difficulty, what we could do is add a 4th or even a 5th if we wanted. And that's a new style of play that came with Jagged Earth. Technically, you could do it in the first one, but like that
they
was
mapped out like what you add and what goes on the island. Yeah.
Right.
That's its own fun experience, too. But let's talk about True Solo. One character, one board. Boy, this is probably the most different of all the experiences.
Yeah.
Because you can feel the crutch's absence of having a friend to lean on.
I think it feels like a different game altogether.
It kind of does.
No, it does. It depends on the spirit. Like, Serpent is like...
I know, I'm going to eat myself.
I find Serpent really hard multiplayer. But True Solo, I find it really strong. Because it's all the benefit you're giving to your friend, now you get to yourself. So you're growing so much faster. But multiplayer, you're like...
Right. And Elemental Aegis has always been good, but now it covers half the island.
Yeah.
But then look at the ratios. How much fear do we have per player? 4.
Oh, yeah.
That's it? Yeah. When you are accustomed to a multiplayer game, 4 is like, oh my word,
especially
this is
higher
great.
Player counts.
This
if you're used
awesome.
to like 4-player games or something.
Geez.
Where it's like 16 fear, one card. You're like, no!
When you have a 5-player game and it's 20 fear and you're like, oh,
What tier level are we on? Still 1.
Right.
Okay.
Because you can even look at cards that give you 3 fear. On a solo game, that's like, oh my word, that's almost a fear card. Paralyzing Fright, if you hit the threshold, is 8 fear. That's 2 fear cards in solo. Yet, if you're in a 5-player game, you're like, cool, do that literally 2 more times, and we can get 1 fear card. Like, the difference is insane.
Yeah.
And then, once again, Blight. Back in the day, we only had 2 Blights per player. And it sucked, because it was really hard. But it also just made you very hyper-aware that, okay, this card puts a Blight out there.
Wildfire. I'm just not going to play you.
I loved Wildfire before the rule, and now
really?
Oh yeah. It was worth it. It's still great.
No, it's good spirit.
But in solo, it's an entirely new ballgame. And so that errata change that added 1 more Blight is huge for solo players. How did that affect you in your games? Like, when you heard of that change, what was your reaction to it?
I mean, I call it the Eric Royce loves you Blight. It's like, it's so great, dude. I mean, in some ways, I got so comfortable like being Blighted Island, and especially the Blighted Island cards got
so much better. Oh my word, Memory Fades and Downward Spiral suck.
Yeah, what's the one that makes you lose 3 though? I'm losing the
tipping point.
What is it?
Good old tipping point.
Oh yeah. Other than that one, I feel the rest got like more forgiving, so it even made it less dangerous to go Blighted Island. So I just wasn't scared with it. But then once Eric Royce explained the reason for the errata, I was like, oh my gosh, you can't unsee it, right?
It makes so much sense.
You know, I thought about that from the very beginning. I always thought, how many can we actually place? And it's always 1 less than what you have. And I was like, wow, this threshold is really small. Okay, that's just the high professional standard we just got to exist at. Because, okay, that's what we are dealing with. Have you ever gotten, by the way, Back Against the Wall or Aid from Lesser Spirits? Basically the good Blight cards. When you flip it, one of the good ones. Oh, that's one of the best feelings ever. Like,
But time out. As a solo player, is that tough? Because they only have 2 Blight per
2 Blight. Yeah. Like, there are definitely games where I can't remember. And I know on the channel I've done it at least twice where I kept it, but you can choose not to. Mm-hmm. And I used to read it like you had to pass it up, and then I realized, no, you actually have the choice. You can keep it or you can not keep it. Mm-hmm. But like, they can really break a game open in your favor, but it is only 2 Blight. So if you Blight Cascade in true solo, it's like, bye-bye. Perfect.
That was a fun game.
But yeah, they're great. I like the Still Healthy Island cards. They almost make the game harder. I mean, because the one, you're adding an extra Blight on the board right off the bat, and that's not great. And then the other one is you're adding that fear in the fear pool, and like that. I mean, if you're playing against England, like a level 6 England, so it's like
Greg, that happened. That
happened. We still did it.
Yeah,
with Light Earth and Immense Lightning.
It was tough. A lot of fear.
That sucked.
Oh man, you went double easy aspect spirits. That's ridiculous.
It was a poetic end because Lightning and Earth was the first game I ever played with in Spirit Island. It was a 2-handed game where I played as those 2. And so as the finale for England, which was the hardest adversary since the beginning, it just felt poetic. But yeah, we were very glad to pull that one off, but it was hard.
Greg, our game turned into your game where you were like, okay, I just need 70 more fear, and then I win the game. We were literally doing math, and we're like, okay, 36, and then you play this card, and then I do this.
He was pleading with me that we go all in fear. I'm like, we can't afford to yet. Maybe next turn, but not yet. We can't.
But we had to
look at this land. Look at this.
We had to work out the math.
We need another year of Perfect Stillness spam.
Yeah, dude, that's crazy. Dude, I think the first time I put Earth on the channel, I was just trying to get the moral victory of like surviving till the event deck was exhausted. And that was like level 3 England. Man, that was a year and a half ago at this point. But
I will say one thing I really like about just doing a 1-player game is how fast the turns go. Because the growth phase is, okay, I'll do this, maybe do this, you'll deliberate with yourself for 10 seconds, maybe. Okay, and we go. And you do it, and you're like, next. Wow. Especially when you are used to how long it takes for the growth phase in a multiplayer game. And you're like, whoa, this is great. Just going. Great. I love it.
Yeah. Well, even the invader steps, man. Like, you're doing a stage 3 card with the 2 spirits. It's like, I gotta put 8 of these stupid little explorers over the board.
Yeah. For me, it's France. Like, following all their little rules. Add this one, and then this gets a town if a coastal city builds, and then extra explorer, and you can't kill them. You can't kill the extra explorer. And no blights.
There are some adversaries that are really tough in solo play.
France is finicky for me.
So France, I would say, is among them. Russia, too.
Yeah,
and
Russia
TOO, by the way, not Russia level 2, but just Russia as well.
Yeah.
And then I think Scotland. Basically, anyone that has a loss condition that is based on a thing that's based on number of players. Something per player, something per board, these kinds of things. Because I feel as if you need to be very aware and very careful with your awareness on, okay, how many towns do I have left for France? Okay, how many do I have this for beasts that are dying with Russia? You know, because you only start with one natively, and they give you another one, so you have 2.
Unless you're mines.
Hey! But yeah, like, I feel as if the game, it's very strange, because the stakes, the tension is much higher, because you're just very close. Like, your balance beam on maybe a 2-player game, a 3-player game may have been like 12 inches wide, but now it's like, okay, only like 3 inches wide. Okay, I can still do this. I can still win. I can still be fine, but I just got to be very careful. Your margin for error is just much, much smaller.
I feel like card draws are so much more important too in solo play. It's like, oh no, I got nothing I needed. Okay, I guess this round sucks.
Nah, like an early defense card in a true solo game is huge. It's like changes everything.
You stop one attack, that's half of all of the damage coming in on the entire island.
Yeah.
It's huge.
Which is insane.
Yeah, France is really tricky, true solo. There's only 4 towns left in your pool.
Yeah.
And when you start the game, you're like, that's not a lot. You know, I think it helps keep you focused, right? Like, it's like you can really more clearly define your problem areas. But even having that ability, it's still a swing of your game for sure. I mean, a bad event card early. Now, if you're playing Trickster and you pull 2 events in a row that are like, ignore strife, you're like, oh.
But that's my thing. That's what I do.
Right. That's what I do.
Colin's escalation on the board with the most.
Oh no!
I guess that's me.
It's always my board.
I win. Look at me. That's bad, man.
I think the coastal land card is also particularly on solo too, depending on.
I'm not gonna lie. I have grown to love that card because I hate the
escalation.
No escalation
so much. I hate them so much.
There's silver linings to everything.
Greg, you were praying for that coastal land during the England game. You're like, please, where is it?
You need it with England, man, because you just avoiding that extra build is so huge.
Stupid build.
It's bad. It's really bad.
So you agree with our nomenclature of the stupid build?
The stupid build.
Oh yeah, I love it. I trademarked you guys a couple of times, man.
The stupid build is so ridiculous. I'm like, you literally built 3 other times this turn.
Build again. Again.
Why must you make me relive these tortures?
It's the Thor meme, like, another!
Yeah.
I think it's interesting that England was always the hardest, right? Because France, when it first came out, was like, oh, France is like harder than England. And I was like, I don't know. England was always the hardest. And then Scotland's hard, Habsburg is hard, Russia's hard, but England's still the hardest. Like, it's just, there's something about
I think they still formally recognized as difficulty 11.
I think they're still
I did not know that for the longest time. I didn't know that.
Yeah, I heard that on your show. I was like, yeah, that makes so much sense, too. Because that is ridiculous.
You feel it.
So
seriously.
It's such a grind, too. How long was that episode of England that you had to edit down?
Way too long.
Okay. Been there.
And you know it, when you start with Bringer, you're like, no, we're doing a Fear Victory. That's all we have got. Buckle up. We'll be here for a couple hours.
According to the community at large, 2 players is what everyone agrees on as the quote-unquote best player count. Now, I actually don't have a favorite player count because I really do feel as if every experience at the player levels is different enough that it's still really fun and I truly, actually, genuinely enjoy every one of them. 2 players is up there. It's like probably one of my favorite player counts. The ratios are almost still low enough where whatever I do, it is critical. It is critical to the gameplay. But you have a friend. And now that you have a friend, you can help compensate. And seeing how you're working with someone else's mind, or, as we talked about, doing multi-handed solo, you can do this cooperative thing. And this is where the cooperative nature of a 2-player game is such that when you see the effect of cooperation, it only came from that one buddy, and vice versa. So when you see something that was cooperative and helpful, that was 100% because you helped them. And so you get this, like, yes, like, you're responsible for how good this awesome thing was. I find that intoxicating, personally.
I remember it was on your show. You guys were talking about the green plus wildfire.
Wow.
Level 6. Yeah.
One of my favorite games.
So my friend Tony and I did it. And
Yeah?
Yeah. Pure adrenaline, man. That game was amazing.
Who was who?
Right?
Who was
who?
I was Wildfire, I'm pretty sure.
Mm.
I'm pretty sure. I don't remember. That's bad. I don't remember, man. I played
No worries.
I'm pretty sure I was Wildfire. But I do remember the whole time it was like that cooperation, how much that specific combo like highlighted that. Because it's like, oh, I can put another presence on the board. You know? Like,
yeah.
There goes a city.
And the beautiful thing with that pairing is that either one of them can just soup up the other to a ridiculous extreme to perform some crazy cool thing.
Yeah.
So it's not just a one-sided affair, because obviously Gift of Proliferation on Wildfire means that they can go place another presence and do a damage right there. But then Flame's Fury on Creeper's Turn to Mortar now takes this quote-unquote subpar ability and bam, 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 3 times.
So good.
3 towns gone. Oh, it's phenomenal.
It's so good. It's really good.
What are your thoughts on 2 players, John?
Okay. I think it's my favorite to do if I'm playing by myself. Sorry, Greg.
Okay. So two-handed then.
I do like two-handed. I like the peanut butter jelly ebb and flow of just like working together. I like the flexibility. Like we said, with one spirit, you're just under a microscope. Yeah. So especially I play a lot of like shadows or some of my favorite spirits where if you don't get a card draw that's perfectly helping you out, then you just like are down a turn and then you're fighting against Blight. And
that's true.
It's an uphill battle sometimes.
Yeah, the card draw within lower player count games
almost feels more offensive and
feels like a huge swing and a miss.
Yet it's that much more like when you get Jungle Hungers in a lower player count game. Like, yes!
Perfect. So I think 2 might be my favorite when I'm just playing solo. If I'm talking multi-person or human game, 3 is, I think, where this game shines, is 3-player count.
3?
Especially if they know the game. Obviously, teaching games are different or newer players, but if there's 3 experienced players, it's just the peak of what this game is supposed to be to me.
I think, especially with Sunspirit, the 3-players Ocean is amazing.
Yes.
I just love that puzzle where, like, where do I want to put my presence?
That's a good point, actually.
Oh.
How Ocean factors into all this.
Ocean
with the player
is
count.
so different on player count.
Because Ocean is a spirit that changes dramatically based on the player count.
Yeah. 2 or 3 might be Ocean's, like, just sweet
spot.
Yeah, 4 is tough. It's difficult more to go to the coast.
Oh, yeah.
And those crazy wahoos online who have done those 24 spirit games, I feel so bad for Ocean.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness,
Poor
I feel
Ocean.
so bad for Ocean. It's going to take forever. Please, sir, can I have some more?
Oh, so is it 24 health just to get 1 energy?
Yeah.
Right?
It's ridiculous. Basically, at that point, the thing that you need to do is make sure that Volcano is bequeathing energy to Ocean.
Or someone.
River is bequeathing energy to Ocean.
Yeah.
Anyone who can
Wildfire,
get energy, give it to
Flame
Ocean,
Fury.
please.
Something.
That poor dude is just like, I'm starving.
Because when you play Ocean, I'm like, do you even have a top track? I just always go bottom for Ocean. It's just like straight bottom track. Who cares about those elements up top?
I think remember, going back to 1, Ocean was, when you first start playing, right? And you're like, how the heck do you win with this thing? And then you're like,
oh my word.
It's like, not only can I win with it, it's probably the strongest base spirit, other than Thunderspeaker, right? It's so ridiculous the amount of damage it can do.
Yeah.
Thunderspeaker, oh, dude. The worst part of a teaching game is when you never see that moment, right?
Yeah.
That moment where it just clicks. And you're like, oh, okay. Like,
yep.
I know what I'm doing. I can make my decisions. And you have those, like I say, 1 out of 3 times that I played a 3-player game, like the person we were playing with just never really got it. It's like, oh, dude, you're missing it. But when they get it, it's such an exciting moment. But when you're playing with lightning, but for me, like I remember my moment was like Ocean was like a big moment for me when this game was like just opened up, and I was like, holy cow, like what you can accomplish with this one spirit. I can't get inland, but I can find a way to get inland. I just need the right major power, and I'm gonna have the energy to do it.
Where's Indomitable Claim? Where are you at?
And sometimes fear cards, you learn to depend on them. Just like, okay, I hope a fear card can just like, if there's a Dahan in this land, move and explore.
Something.
Yeah, help you out.
Yeah. When it comes to 3 players, I think on the record, I would say that I don't truly have a favorite, kind of like what I said not long ago. Off the record, 3 players I think is in the running. If I had a gun to my head and someone said, what is your favorite? I think I might actually say 3. Because it's just small enough that I feel like I'm a critical member of that team, but it's big enough that I can interact with multiple people.
Yeah.
And I can go to multiple directions and whatnot. I think it's like just a sweet spot, because then the ratios I think are still totally fine, are just fine. 12 fear I don't think is bad. Then you have the Blight pool is now at 7.
Nice.
I think that's decently manageable. I think that's enough that it's like, okay, we can let 1 or 2 go, but there's still the mental reminding pressure that, okay, well, we don't want to go ham. Let's make sure that we're still engaging in Blight removal tactics. I think it's like just enough. And the greatest reason for doing a 3-player game is because with 3 boards, you can orient the board in a perfect circle.
The circle island.
Yes, it's not literally a perfect circle, but it is so aesthetically pleasing to my OCD to see that like round island. I love it so much.
Like if us 3 played a game, tell me that wouldn't be fun. You know, it's like us 3, just like experienced players going at it level 6. That'd be a blast.
Now 3s are really fun.
Yeah.
It's a really satisfying level. I mean, I've never played 4, but I feel like it would feel like a downgrade from the first minute because you don't have a circle anymore. It's like, where's my circle? What is this?
The square is good enough.
I have this weird parallelogram. I want a circle.
It is kind of fun to get funky with the designs, whether you make like a crab or whatnot. It kind of feels like Legos, you know, just like, hey, there's like that monkey part of your brain that's just like, fun shape, you know?
I mean, it's still like the most unique board in gaming, right?
I'd say.
I asked Eric about it, and he was like went on this whole riff about tessellations and some like old math class he took. And I'm like, teach me more, guru.
He would read those tessellation books on the way to math meets, he was saying. I remember he was saying that, like, the boards were originally, like, at one point, it was either hexagons or octagons where the board had a certain shape. But the thing was they were all oriented in certain ways. So when you started mixing them together, north for this board was illustrated this way. But that way was, like, over here, and it was kind of weird. I love the way the final product came out.
Oh, it's amazing.
I think it's great.
It's amazing.
Talking on 4 players, for me, I feel like the time jump for some reason is almost exponential.
I was about to say,
3.
I think
it's so much longer.
Jump is between 3 and 4 players.
It's almost backbreaking. I still like 4 players. Like, we've done them, obviously. I feel like it just extra hour instantly. Yeah. For some reason, that 4th player.
Yeah. The big jumps, I think the big jumps are from 1 to 2 and from 3 to 4.
Yeah.
So when you go to 4, that's when it starts to feel like a big experience. Because now, depending on how your board is set up, now there is someone that you are playing with that is not touching your board at all. You have to go far out there now to reach that person.
Right.
Of course, this depends on maybe who they're playing as and how you built your board. But point being, at 2 and 3, you were touching everyone's.
Right.
Perhaps maybe one person on the end, one person on the other, but it was high that you had quick access to either of your 2 friendly players. With 4, though, this is for me when it starts to get pretty high in the fear cards with the amount of tokens that you need to get one. It starts to feel tough. Like, ugh, wow, we've been in Terror 1 for like 30 minutes. Yikes.
You're scaring Greg. You know? He's never going to play 4-player now.
But
I mean,
this
I might
also is cool because now Blight is a lot easier to let on. So those cards like Drought that do a lot for you, but they cost a Blight.
Oh, that makes sense.
Yeah, that makes sense. A little more cavalier. So it's this strange shift because if you have just one character doing fear is always a necessity.
Right.
But the thing is it feels like you're just like, I've been working on the railroad. Hey, how much more fear cards to the next terror level? 3. Oh, okay, just keep at it. And it can feel kind of tiring, but the thing that's interesting, though, is how it changes with the Blight that I was just talking about. Furthermore, it starts to feel like this grand scope. Like there are multiple spirits here. How ya doing, buddy? Dude, I just had this awesome attack on the mountain range. Sounds good. I'm way over here. What? And like, so you can now start to hear stories from the island from your friend's point of view as opposed to seeing it because, oh, I was right there. I do really legitimately like the grand aspect because now it's like, here's my board. I'm going to do my best because if I don't do my best, it's going to start to get on other people's boards. Other people's. Like, multiple people. So I feel as if the responsibility of doing good is almost higher, but not because of the same emotion in a low player count game. Because in a low player count game, the responsibility of playing well was because we might lose if I don't. And technically, but the thing is now in a high player count game, I may not directly lose the game immediately if I don't do well, but now other players are going to have Blight on theirs. It's going to be harder for them, and the game lasts long enough that I can see the negative aspects of my poor gameplay on their boards. And that responsibility is, I think, kind of a fun challenge, because it's like, I want to make sure that I'm the player who did well enough to assist my fellow teammates across this entire thing. As opposed to just, okay, well, if I don't, we just lose, like, straight up. And it's kind of fun to be like, okay, I want to make sure that I'm not the person who's just, like, pushing all this Blight onto my friends' boards. But it feels like you're a cog in a big machine now, as opposed to, like, a critical member of this, like, playing card house, you know, that we were all leaning on each other with.
You know, I would want to play, like, 4-player Scotland, because that escalator. That'd be so brutal.
The escalation is completely different with them.
The person who's struggling the most, here's 4 more towns.
Yeah, that's and it's because there's so many fear cards, it takes so long with Scotland.
Oh, yeah.
On today's episode of Find Where Fractured Is, let's see what board. That one! Found it!
It was
the one that's all white plastic.
Oh my gosh. I tried to do a level 5 Scotland Fractured in Ocean, and yeah, that didn't go well. It's out there for the world to see. Go find it.
Sometimes Fracture really depends on that Days That Never Were deck.
Oh, yeah.
How you start, you're like, oh, okay, this is going to be a rough game.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. It was pretty rough. And I tried to force a 4 times sideways that I shouldn't have. Because I was like, I'm going to use this
card. I did that one for the memes. I just wanted to see how it was. I just wanted to say I did it.
They're such a fun spirit.
Oh, I love Fractured Solo now. It took me a while to figure it. Starlight, too. Oh, my gosh. I put on my top spirit video, by the way, and another tangent here. And I put Starlight, like, pretty low, and I got flayed for it.
I want to get into your list. I watched that.
I had River too low.
River was low.
Too low, and I had Downpour too low. Those were the 4. No one ever told me who I had too high.
Yeah.
But the 4 I had too low consistently were those 4. It was like, okay, I get it.
For 5 players,
it's a longer game.
Who plays 5 players?
Who plays that?
What psychopath?
Players.
I mean...
They're crazy.
Now, this is when you take those new changes that came in that 3 to 4 jump, and you just push it to a little bit more of an extreme. Because now you really feel like a smaller cog in that machine. But, for me personally, this is my record for in-person table is 5. I do want to get to a 6-player game. I want to see exactly what it's done.
Just have all day set
online,
aside.
You can do it fine. And like we talked about, sure, there's people that do 6-handed play, which is insane. But 6 people around a table. I've only ever done to 5. I think that's your record too, if I'm not mistaken, John. And so...
How long did it take? I'm really curious.
Man, the fear is just... abysmal.
That was our Hepsbok game, is 5 players.
It takes forever.
And you took it 5 hours?
We started at 7. Yeah, we probably went until around midnight. It was a long game.
It was long, yeah.
See, that's my problem. If my crew's getting together and we're all in the same room, we're playing like TI4. But
the fear is tough, but thankfully, I think in the later game, damage becomes to be one of your greatest incomes of fear. You know, as opposed to just fear generation in general. But I mean, to be fair, anyone can find fear cards and go for it. But there comes this point where it's like blight removal and fear generation is almost like something we all gotta do. Because no longer can you just have one player completely devoting to fear and it goes quick. It does not go quick. You need to have at least 2 or maybe even 3 people or all of us going halvesies on this thing.
Getting a fear victory is so difficult at those higher counts.
At those higher player counts.
Oh, easy, yeah. Because I find Bringer too strong now in low player kind of games. But I would think Bringer at 5, that would be a really interesting dynamic.
Yeah, it's portioned out entirely differently, yeah.
But Bringer, I feel like, has enough support or in their kits where they would be still useful. I don't know. Because they're still controlled. They're still throwing out elements. You can see the fear card. But yeah, it would be a different game. It couldn't be just fear for Bringer.
One thing that's really interesting at 5 players, and I guess this just would go for any high player count, is how before when it was 2 players or 3 players, assisting another friend was just like, okay, we had 1 collab this turn, maybe 2 collaborations. When you have a lot of people, you are helping so many people.
Yeah.
And it plinkos down in very strange ways. So we had this player and that player helping each other, but then these two were helping them other two people. But then I sent a card to him, but then you sent a card to her. And it's weird how, like, the help that you can get can be so long distance. I'll give you energy. Cool. And it, like, had an effect on something that I never saw.
Right.
It's in a way, it's kind of cool in a strange way to like get a care package of help and ship it off to a friend who will get it.
Yeah.
And it's like, okay, that's like really useful and it helped way over there. There's something kind of strange about that that's kind of fun also. Furthermore, you get this journey aspect. And I don't mean that metaphorically. I mean, I started on my board and it took me all game to get to yours. But like, look at this like massive journey that you had. And of course, if you're fine, you're like, yo.
And I'm here.
And I'm here. But like, I don't know, there's kind of a fun aspect that I got with a 5-player game on the literal travel. Like, I moved these dudes, those dudettes, all over here and over there. Like, look at this. Look at how we manipulated these beasts all the way over there. Do you need my Dahan? Sure. Just start getting them over there. I feel as if those achievements almost feel kind of cooler because it took way longer to get there. It took way longer to get the logistics of help to my friend, but we made it work. Even across that far distance.
Speaking of achievements, I think we should all try to do a 6-player thematic side. I think that would be just very epic.
I actually really like the thematic board.
A living, breathing island, super swinging, and maybe it'd be difficult if you're going against a high-level adversary, but I think that experience or journey, like you were saying, like that is something maybe to do once a year, or at least you can say you've done it once. Like a 6-player thematic side would be so unique and so memorable. I think it's something we all should try and do, if you can.
I just don't understand how that art made it off the press. It's so not user-friendly. Like, in a way that I find
the
so
newer
tilting.
neoprene player mat, I must say,
much easier to read.
Assists this significantly because the borders of each land are colored in a certain way, which greatly assists. But yeah, I've heard that a lot, the distinction of the colors. And okay, so I understand that sands look like this and jungles look like this, but what about this land that looks like it honestly has both?
Or the wetland jungles get kind of confusing.
Yeah, it can be. I totally understand it.
There's not clear demarcations like within one board to another. I mean, you can figure it out. You do it enough, but it's really off-putting the first couple of times you're trying the thematic boards.
Oh, it's definitely a change of pace, for sure.
And then it's so much swingier that you're like, I mean, let's just play the other side.
Yeah, it's totally a preference thing. I 100% get it. For me, I am a painter in real life, so I have to deal with colors that are literally micro percentages off for each other. So for me, I am accustomed to being like, oh yeah, those are two different colors. Where someone else would be like, what? They look the same. And you know, they look similar, but I guess perhaps maybe because I've been doing it for so long that I'm like, oh yeah, it's like two different. For me, it's not super a big deal, but I totally understand it. Because I've seen so many of the feedback. And I think, like I said, when it is done realistically, that can be pretty tough because I'm trying to draw a river from this mountain to this mountain to this jungle because that's how real life things work. Real life doesn't look like here's a desert with pure sand, then strong border, nothing but rock. Bam! You know, for that. Like, obviously, the balance side of the board is illustrated in such a way so that it's easy. But, like, that would have been a difficult challenge to illustrate, I would think.
Oh, yeah, I get the challenge, but I feel like when I read the rulebook and it seems like, well, it's +1 difficulty because sometimes it's hard to see what's going on. I'm like, that's not a great reason to have +1 difficulty.
And they're bunched up in completely different ways. Set up for France on the thematic board, and I lost.
Yeah, or if you get like an early mountain card for France, and it's like, oh, this started with 4 explorers already. Those all turned into towns. Perfect.
Yeah.
I did a keeper versus Scotland playthrough. I lost in 15 minutes, and then I just was like, England, we're going to do keeper.
Hey! Scotland who? Anyway.
I kept them both in the video.
Here's a question. Do you ever have a desire to do a 6+ game?
No.
I do not.
Here's the thing. Like, I mean, this is my favorite game, right?
Oh,
but I think
really?
I just...
Your favorite?
What?
Actually, legit, no cap, this is your favorite game?
Oh, yeah. No, I mean, this was... I mean, I'm on record. This is my favorite game. But I play like so many other games too, right? Yeah. So like it would be hard for me to be like, I'm going to spend the next 3 days playing a 12-spirit game. No, I need my table for something else in about 2 hours. Like,
it would only be for memes, and I'm so glad that someone has done it. I have no interest.
Yes, right.
When I'm retired, maybe. By the way, I've been saying this my whole life. Our generation is going to rock retirement. Oh my gosh.
I mean, if the world still exists.
And all these games that we've never played that we wanted to have time for, I'm actually going to have time to paint all my minis. I'm going to have time to get to all these things. It's going to be great. Unless I die. But, you know.
I mean, Cleveland will be underwater. Philly will be underwater, but we'll be fine.
But we'll have our board games, Greg.
We'll have our board games.
We'll only have chip theory games. You better stock up now.
Atlantis Rising.
Literally.
Chip theory games ahead of the curve, man. They're like, we're going to make our games waterproof because, you know, the whole world's going to be underwater in about 30 years.
Waterworld.
Hey!
All right, Greg, spit some knowledge. What are the best spirits for solo play? Give us some strats. Come on, solo gamer.
My top 10 has changed significantly, but I will not disclose exactly how. But Many Minds, I still think is the strongest for true solo. I find them really boring to play, to be honest. Because they always have an answer.
They chew through so much fear.
Yeah.
Seriously.
They start with an extra card, which is huge. I don't know why they felt the need to give them a 5th card, but that makes a huge difference. You're delaying the reclaim, which is huge. You always have defense. You always have fear generation. You have the ability to move the Dahan wherever the heck you want them. It's such a strong character. And especially you're getting so many beasts out, you know, you get a couple of event cards that use those beasts. It's like game over. So I think true solo, Many Minds, just always has a way to go up against any adversary. Obviously, Thunder Speaker is ridiculous. That ability to just do whatever the heck it wants with the Dahan and, you know, get that huge amount of damage, you know, pretty early in the game. So you're against Scotland. It's like, well, the 2 cities in land 2, I can get them gone in like the 3rd round. It's like, they're not there anymore. Yeah, I like Fangs a lot. I mean, it can be a challenge to stay ahead of the Blight, but if you can, like, game over. I mean, that early damage, you're doing damage every turn, early and often. I mean, lore, obviously. Lore against Russia, Styx is not even fun. It's like such a joke, man. Like, lore just does everything you need to do against Russia. But I think Many Minds is number 1 for me still. I love Trickster. Strife is ridiculous. You know, I think as long as you're avoiding those events that negate it, like, you're going to have a pretty good game of it. I mean, Trickster always seems to have an answer. I mean, the let's see what happens seems really random, but you're always doing something positive, generally. So that really helps.
Greg, you seem to like the pick 2s for growth options.
Oh, yeah. They're so
Based
flexible.
on the videos I've watched, you really
two are very similar, because John loves the pick 2s.
So what do you like that flexibility? What is it you like about those growth options?
You're not stuck with, I just have to reclaim and I'll do what I really want to do next turn. It's like, well, I can do half what I want to do this turn and reclaim if I need to. Right? Okay. The binary nature of lore, I think, makes him a little bit less awesome for me, but it's still pick 2, right? So you still can get that or that or that or that. What do I want? You know, let me figure it out. But yeah, they're really, really, really strong. I mean, Stone's ability to take Blight out of the box is everything.
Oh, yes, for solo.
They're rough against Sweden, though.
Yes, you gotta be careful.
I find that matchup real hard.
It's their toughest matchup.
I thought, Stone against Sweden, it's great. And then he's like, oh, wait, they're killing all my presents because they're doing 2 Blight every time.
Right.
Awesome. What a jerk.
In my solo game, I have a solo series I was doing for myself just for funsies. And in my Stone game, I had Blighted 4 times, and not a single one came from the Blight card.
Oh, yeah.
It's phenomenal.
Yeah, he's really cool. So I think he's my number, I think I had him at 5 when I did the top 10. My top 7 were Ocean 7, Lore 6, Stone was 5, and then I think it was Fangs, Thunder Speaker, Trickster, Many Minds.
Yeah, when it comes to who's good in solo, obviously anyone can do it. People that come to mind for me, I definitely agree with. Lure, probably like one of the first. I had so much fun with Fangs in solo. I think there's some that, like, it's just a very different experience. It's almost like a different game. I think of Finder primarily. I think of Bringer. I think of Ocean. Because each one of them has something that's really unique. We're talking about someone being alone and no one's there to pad out your limitations. Talk about those characters. Finder is just clump them all up, and then the real game is seeing if you can find a big whammo card.
Yeah. Now, Finder is interesting. The problem with Finder is always going to be those additional loss conditions.
Yeah. Especially those ones with France and England.
Yeah.
And Russia is giving you the finger, too, because, hey, 3 explorers in the same land. Extra ravage.
Oh, yeah.
Great. And it can just be, in Bringer's case, it's like, okay, how can I shuffle around people? Because I can't kill them. So, you got to really use Dahan and defense. And I think when you were talking about Thunderspeaker, obviously they are an incredibly powerful spirit, but you only have 6 Dahan to work with. Hopefully you don't lose any, and hopefully you can find Dahan spawning cards, of course.
Oh, yeah.
But there's like that additional element that's like highlighted in solo.
Oh, yeah.
We talked ad nauseum about Ocean. Hey, I can't go all the way inland.
Yeah, Thunderspeaker Sweden's the worst. When you lose your Dahan, you're like, oh, no!
Yeah.
I'm taking my Dahan.
Yeah.
The worst.
So I'm the odd man out where I like the fear spirits that you guys are dogging.
No, I love them. I love them because the fear,
Dude,
that's
Bringer
it.
solo is so easy. I love
You
Bringer.
can chew through that fear deck.
I wasn't there with Bringer until I did a live playthrough, I guess level 5 Sweden.
Okay.
And I was like, this is ridiculous. Bringer is so strong solo because it's
Seriously.
only for fear. I mean, you're getting fear cards so
The
quick.
moment you terrify a city, that's a fear card.
Yeah.
The moment you
Yeah.
do 3 quote-unquote damage to a city, boom, fear card. Which is insane.
For me, with Bringer and solo games, it really depends on Calling a Midnight Stream and what major power you pull.
Yeah.
So if you get something that does damage, especially turn 1, get that card and see what major I pull. And then may I just forget it turn 1 and just keep playing that major, keep playing Swarming Infestation or whatever, and add as much fear. I don't care about Blight. I'm just sprinting.
Right. Fractured Days, like you mentioned earlier, can be a comical solo play.
Fractured Days is pretty wild. I mean, the ability to recycle the stage 1 invader cards is so huge. And you're just like, oh, okay, we'll bring that back.
Spawning Dahan is also increased in value, I feel. Because Blur to the Arc of Years does it with such ease. Oh, yeah. There's another one, and another one. And another one.
No, it's nuts.
Do you feel a handicap from Port Time Sideways?
No, Port Time Sideways is absolutely useless.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Your first forget card, your first burn card.
Oh, yeah.
Seldom do we see a card that actually becomes useless in player count differences.
Oh, yeah. Well, there's that one in the minor power deck where it's like you need a presence in a land with another spirit.
Yeah, so many cards change.
Yeah.
And green being able to do gift to proliferation on themselves. Huh.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah. That's critical.
Really,
nice.
Green was top 10 for me.
Yeah, and another reason why Many Minds is so great in solo because now Boon-a-Sword and Bedevilment now gives them defense.
It doesn't suck anymore.
No, it's so good.
It's great.
Many Minds are so sick through solo. I think my top 10 was rounded out, but Serpent was in there.
Yeah, why isn't Serpent 1? I think Serpent's very strong solo. Extremely strong.
I could just need to spend more time with them for sure. I mean, I've definitely had spirits that I'm like, Starlight went from like 28 to definitely not 28 anymore for me. I was like, oh, okay. That 2 damage at range 0 as a growth option is really sick. I just need to spam that.
Whenever I think of Serpent doing a solo game, I forget the company. Was it Robot Chicken, I think, with the teddy bear? Where the teddy bear that was eating itself and like, I taste delicious. Teddy bears that are so good, you'll eat your own nuts. So like, the first thing I think of is Serpent just like, I taste delicious.
I'll absorb.
Because I gotta absorb
itself.
Gummy bear, not teddy bear.
But you just play that so much. You're just defending around you, and then all of a sudden, I can get 17 energy. Cool.
Yeah. I think Starlight in solo is actually quite easy because you only have to ever worry about 1 Ravage at a time. Why? Peace in the nighttime sky. Spam that sucker. Reclaim it every single turn. Beep, 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 over and over again. Like, it's actually quite easy.
Yeah, it's really sick. No, Starlight's fun. I mean, just Jagged Earth in general. I'm still blown away by that expansion.
Yeah.
I don't think it's as like fine-tuned as the rest of it.
Okay.
I feel like some of this is like, you could have made that a little less strong, but like, it's nice that people get to the Keeper is overpowered. I hate those conversations. Like, just don't play it. Like, if it's not fun for you, just don't play it, right? Like, for me, like, I like that the game has spirits that are so strong that like you can give to like a player who's still learning and they can feel really powerful and do some crazy things. And then if you're more experienced and you want more of a challenge, well, up the difficulty or just use a different spirit, right?
I love how we have access to so many different experiences. whether whether they be complex,
absolutely.
whether they be hard, whether they be easy. I absolutely love having the choice and the ability to do those whenever I want, even if I don't necessarily like them for all of my games.
Right. Contrast to, again, with Too Many Bones, every new gear lock is $30. Spirit Island, man, you got an 8-pack of awesomeness for $50, right?
Yeah. And adversaries, and scenarios,
right?
And Badlands,
right?
It's crazy. It's absolutely crazy. Promo pack's $5 or $10, whatever the heck it is. Yeah, just get it. 2 more spirits.
If you can get the promo packs.
Oh man, it's crazy.
I'm curious to hear about this. Who do you think struggles the most in solo? Obviously, it's a subjective question. I get that.
No, Earth is still a puzzle for me. I haven't spent enough time, and I haven't really played with the aspects enough.
Yeah.
But Earth is just like, it's rough, man.
I think in a standard difficulty game, I think they're okay.
Yeah.
I think you'll be fine. I think if you start increasing the difficulty with adversaries or scenarios, you will benefit from grabbing that might aspect.
Yeah, use might. It's awesome.
Cool.
Yeah, seriously. Cool. And this goes to anyone that hears this. If you've ever had a bad experience with Earth, ever, and you haven't tried might, please try might. It's insane what that one card does for that character. In the same way that foreboding goes to shadows and just completely revitalizes them.
I think the first Jagged Earth Spirit I did was Stone. I was like, Stone is what Earth wants to be when it grows up.
It's like edgy
didn't really
Earth.
quite get there.
Yeah.
I think a lot of the lows kind of have their struggles. I think there's only so much a low complexity can do, because like you said, Stone just like amplifies, because, you know, it can have elements on tracks, or it can have these cool, like, awesome innates and stuff, or it can have 2 innates.
Yeah.
Sometimes, like, you play a low and it's fun, and I think they can beat up level 6 adversaries, but there's just only a certain far they can bend or stretch.
Right. Well, even like River. I mean, River can beat everyone pretty easily except for England, but I just find River boring because it's doing the same thing, but it's a low complexity spirit. So it's supposed to kind of do the same thing, right? That's how it was designed. It's not a flawed design. It's just, you know, I've kind of moved beyond River.
Yeah, that's got to be very difficult to make something that's thematic, balanced, and fair, easy to understand, but not overpowered, while also having choices. Because when you have not a whole lot of mechanics, it's hard to get that feel of choices.
Right.
I honestly think, though, that what a newer player is capable of handling maybe has risen.
Oh, yeah.
Today, in 2021, what would constitute a low complexity versus 2017, I think is a bit different. Eric has said that if they ever do a hypothetical second edition, these low complexity characters would not be the same from first edition to second edition. They would have track bonuses here or there that have some reworks and stuff. I'm actually really curious to see in that reality what would change. You know, I just think that if you give Shadows a little bit more choices in their early game, if you give Earth just a few more elements, if you want to keep that innate that they have.
Even Lightning. Jeez, yeah.
And that's one of the reasons that aspects are here for. They're A, to just have a fun way to revitalize an old character, but B, perhaps they're there to quote-unquote fix another character. And I almost hate to use the word fix, because that implies broken / non-functional. And they are functional. But you know what I mean? Like, now that they've had the benefit of crafting so much content, now that they can get on a roll with what works, what actually makes a good character design, they can take these aspects and kind of tweak a older design that was maybe a bit clunky, perhaps, and maybe in a way that at the time was fine. But, you know, as things change, as they develop in skill in making such characters, I think they've done a good job with aspects, but I am still curious to like, oh man, what would a second edition look like for this character? What would that look like?
Yeah, I'm curious to see. I mean, the ones I struggle with True Solo Beyond Earth, I mean, Shroud, I just have not clicked with Shroud. I like the challenge. I like the game experience of it, but I'm like, holy shit, I cannot figure out how to win with any kind of consistency with that character without getting the right fear cards. And I just seem to not do it every time I play with Shroud. So it just is what it is.
So many fire elements that you find. You're like, no!
Yeah.
Those card draws, you depend on them.
Oh, yeah. It's such a really interesting spirit and definitely one I'm primed to explore a lot more going forward. But it's funny, the ones that I used to really think were super weak, I mean, I've seen the light more on Starlight and even Bringer. Like, I find Bringer, like, oh, I mean, that ability to like bump an explorer out of a land early, unless you're playing against England, is like, it's really strong. You can do a lot to control the island pretty quick and take on some challenges that I didn't think were possible. I used to hate that spirit, man. Like, oh my gosh. And I hated What am I talking about? Not Bringer. Did I say Bringer?
Yeah,
I'm talking about
Shadows.
Shadows. But now it's like Shadows. I'll take Shadows against anybody pretty much and feel pretty confident other than, England. But even that, I did level 5 England with Shadows and Lightning.
Wow, nice.
And that was a really sick matchup. 2 low complexity spirits and managed to pull that off. That was the first 2-handed playthrough I did on the channel. It was really cool. But you guys want to follow the Reddit community has weekly challenges they put out. There's some really good ones they put out that have been kind of good when I don't want to decide for myself. I'm like, all right, I'll see if they have a good idea that I'll use, and I'll just kind of steal those community challenges.
What kind of pairings do you prefer when you are playing 2-handed? Or what have you found to like?
Yeah, there's that Spirit Guide app. When I'm playing co-op, it's usually with one of my friends, and we'll just randomize it. And we'll probably randomize 3 or 4, and we'll just find one that sounds interesting, right? It's cool. So I don't really do the thematic pairings. I don't try to think about synergies too much ahead of time. I kind of like discovering them as I go. Or I'll just take an idea that I heard. I heard from you guys when you were talking about, green and wildfire. That sounded awesome. I was like, I'm going to try that. Or I'll do the community challenge boards from Reddit, kind of scour that. But I tend to not like Bringer in 2-player games. I just find Bringer overpowers the game too much and makes it something different, because you're just still chasing fear at those 2 players. But even I found the idea of Bringer and green really enticing. So I did that anyway for the channel, right? So there's no hard and fast rule really, but if it sounds cool, great, let's see what happens. But I do tend to stay away from control spirits. I know, John, on that.
Okay, we'll ignore that.
We're kind of going from different angles. I like to do damage. I just want to break shit.
That's fair. That's fair. Laura agrees with you. Yeah, my spirit is here.
My wife is totally on board with the boom booms. So
yeah,
the boom booms is great.
That's what she calls it.
No, I've really grown to like Volcano a lot.
Ooh,
those kind of spirits are really.
Yeah.
You told us you had a really good comment of someone talking about Volcano.
Oh. Dude, I should find this thing. I could probably find it pretty quick. I gotta read it.
All right, you gotta read it. A little context. We were talking before this episode started, listeners, just preliminary stuff, and Greg mentioned a comment that was particularly funny about Volcano.
And for additional context, the time I interviewed Eric Royce on my channel was my live playthrough with Volcano. So it was kind of a pretty big deal for my channel, which was I think barely over 1,000 at the time. So I interviewed Eric Royce January. I had this playthrough out 9 months ago. And sometime last month I got this, clearly my favorite comment of all time. So thank you for the video. It made me realize that I'm better at playing Volcano than I thought, as I saw all the mistakes, less efficient plays you made. All right.
Well, welcome to the internet, my friend. Welcome to the internet.
I wrote him back and I said, you're welcome.
Greg, that is a question. Do you ever get scared, doing these live playthroughs? Or having people come in to critique or say, you did that rule wrong? Is that a fear?
Oh, yeah. It's a lot. I mean, I definitely appreciate a lot of it. I mean, I think there was a comment I saw a long time ago when I got into content creation was when people point out these little minute mistakes, it just means that they're really paying attention pretty closely. Yeah, and in a sense, it's cool. I get about 3,000 hours of watch time a month, and it's still a number that boggles my mind because I'm just I'm just playing board games on the internet. I mean, I play at a very high level and I take getting the rules right very seriously. And I do the work of investing in a game, really making sure I know the rules, beyond the cursory knowledge of them before I want to put them on the channel. So I pride myself on getting all the rules right as much as I possibly can. So when I get something pointed out, it's fine. But yeah, when somebody finds this little thing, it's yeah, dude, thanks for pointing it out. And there's a way to tell me that I would appreciate more than others.
Yeah. You're terrible at Volcano is what
ultimately
they were saying.
We're thankful for these people assisting us to improve our gameplay. But some people can do it a little bit more benevolently than others.
Yeah, it's funny though too. Sometimes when you make this small error that doesn't really have an impact on the game, and it's they act like it's the biggest thing ever. And I'm like, dude, anybody who plays these games at these levels, if you filmed your own playthroughs, I guarantee you're going to make a mistake that would shock you.
Yeah.
But it's just the nature of the games, and you're not filming your own games, so you don't know.
Yeah.
You don't know what your tendencies are.
And you don't have thousands of people watching you play.
Right. The accountability is completely different. Yeah.
It's crazy.
None of us go and purposely make a mistake.
No. Well, I play there, especially I'm trying to read the chat and I'm trying to make sure everything's just right. Sure. I mean, there's so much more going on that, mistakes are more likely to happen, but I'm very careful what I put on a playthrough live for that reason. I'm more likely to do Spirit Island or Mage Knight, Arkham Horror I can do with very little prep. I just know those games so well.
Sure.
And I'm less likely to put on other games because it's there's so much going on. And I don't want to be that guy who's just making a million mistakes because there are a lot of the guys on YouTube that make a lot of mistakes, and it is what it is. And some, they have been doing it forever, and it makes sense why they make a lot of mistakes, because they play like 300 games a year, right? So it's hard to learn these rule books and get them straight down. But, you know, for the most part, like, most of the people who comment on my videos are really gracious about it and understand the challenges that you face as someone trying to do these things at the levels that we're attempting in our content creation. And are pretty forgiving of it.
Yep.
Even that playthrough cracks me up. It's like, dude, I beat level 5 Prussia like pretty handily, like in that playthrough. So I'm curious at the strategy errors I made.
Not good enough.
And I wish there was some exposition.
There will always
Not
be
good enough,
someone. There will always be someone, no matter what you do, no matter how impressive your run was. Yeah, but did you do it with your eyes closed? Yeah, but did you do it with your starting hand? Like, challenge only? Yeah, but did you do it on like 6 additional boards? Yeah, but did you triple adversary? Level 10? There isn't even a level 10. But did you... no matter what you do, there's always going to be someone.
I find it interesting that one of the comments I get the most, if I was going to like put comments in boxes beyond, oh, great playthrough, whatever, but like thoughtful comments are about how I publish losses. And a lot of channels, I guess, don't, right? And for me, like, if I go to the trouble of recording something, I'm going to publish it if there's anything of value in the video, right? If I think it's an interesting playthrough or it allowed me to highlight some aspect of the spirit.
Right.
If I recorded it and I find it interesting, I'm going to put it out there. And I don't want my videos to be all predictable. Oh, look, this Yahoo win again. Like, no, like, these are hard games. Yeah. Like, you're not going to win all the time. And I am far from the best Spirit Island player in the world. Like, I'm probably not even top 1,000, right? Like, it is what it is. Some people are sick with this game. You know, double adversary games are mind-blowing to me. Like, I don't understand how people have like the freaking decks memorized, right? Like, all that stuff is nuts to me. I play this game a lot. I really like it. I'll play it at a high level, but I'm still like just goofing around on the internet playing a board game trying to have some fun, right?
Yeah. I'll be honest, Greg, during your England game, I was pretty sure you're going to lose. Okay.
Oh, dude, I was pretty sure I was
half hour in, I'm like, well, this has been a good video, I guess. It was looking dire, man.
Been there.
Oh, dude, it was bad.
I think everyone's been there to some extent.
With England? Yeah.
But then I pulled Infinite Vitality and then Paralyzing Fright. It was like, I could not get 2 better major powers. But that's the thing too, like, I like showing losses. Like, I'm not rigging these decks, dude. Like, this game has a way of creating stories. It just creates awesome stories. And that's what I love about it. So you don't have to rig the deck, because I couldn't rig a better story than some of the playthroughs I've had.
Dude, you don't rig anything. You randomize boards. You roll a dice for which card's coming out of the Invader deck. Like, I appreciate all you do. It's totally random, all that you do in those videos.
Not good enough. You need to get good.
More random. You have to roll 3 dice.
You roll 3 dice, Greg. Come on. Don't you know that?
Okay, tailing back to spirit pairings, we kind of got off track. You were talking about a lot of them are kind of randomized, and you use that app to see like who you and your friend are going to play. Has there any been a randomized pairing that you're like, oh, this works?
We've had a lot that were just super, super fun.
Okay.
I've played so many games, man. Yeah, like nothing's coming to mind. I think the last thing we did, I was playing as Vengeance. Oh, that's a crazy spirit.
Yeah.
I think we were playing Vengeance and Ocean versus Hepsbok. And the biggest challenge there was we couldn't go Blighted early enough because you need to get more Blight on the board. And sometimes it's hard to do. You know, Ocean especially, it's almost like letting a couple early ravages happen on the coast so Ocean can start drowning stuff.
Right.
And get that energy production going. It's like such a backwards play to play. I mean, Vengeance is a backwards way to play in general, right? Yeah. You're just like, the island doesn't look like shit.
No, that means you're doing well.
That means you're doing good. Yeah.
Yeah, you need it to look really bad early. Otherwise, you're going to have some problems. And I think it's an interesting pairing. So that's like our current challenge that I really like. But are they 2 spirits that are especially great together? Not exactly. I just like the matchup with that adversary.
That's cool.
So we'll probably play that until we pull it off because we're trying to do that at level 6. I think before Hepsbok, we'd beaten every other adversary at level 6, second or third try, if not first. Okay. This one's the one that's kind of, we're stuck.
You'll get them. But Ryan says bring Wildfire. That's how we won.
Or Stone. Yeah.
Wildfire's so good, man. Wildfire Hepsbok, that'd be fun. That'd be really fun.
It's a fun time.
It's so great to just alley-oop a asphyxiating smoke and just pop someone that just showed up because there's just Blight there.
Bye.
GG, easy.
That Hepsbok Invader deck card, though, that still gets my head spinning. And a city.
The reminder card. I mean, at least it's helpful.
Like, what is going on?
I like when the game reminds me to do something.
Ugh.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. And I think Royce has gotten better. Not a ton of them, but just enough.
Yeah.
Just to like, all right, here's a few reminder cards because you're going to probably want it for this specific thing.
That's helpful.
And I appreciate it. The only thing that drives me nuts is, you know, like the Invader reminder tokens, the long ones. They put the art on the wrong side. Because they have the art. If you put it on the board and you match the art up, it's not after the step. They put it before the step. But
on the board, yeah. I don't think I noticed that.
I've never noticed that, but now I will never unsee it.
Thanks.
It 100% tilts me. Like, I'm super OCD. I know, it's shocking. But, like, it so tilts me. I'm like, come on, man. But there's clearly someone who never played the game who's, like, just really good at the art stuff.
Are you OCD enough? Do you use the extra board that came with Branch and Claw with the events and the adversary where all the tokens go?
Oh, I put it out, but I don't put things where they're supposed to go.
Okay. We never use it.
We don't. We used it for a while, and then we were like,
dude, we haven't used
what's the point?
We haven't used it in years.
It hasn't been used since, like, what? 20.
I was about to say Branch and Claw days. Even when we're using Branch and Claw, we're like, this is kind of clunky.
Oh no! I never put the tokens out. That was bananas. But I think if you look at my videos, I use it more as like a spacer where I want things on the screen. I put the event deck backwards, and I don't use it in that sense. But it does make the fear symbol come together.
Hey, it satiates the OC Dizzle. I feel it. No, I feel it. That's honestly the biggest, greatest part about that board. Because it's not useful otherwise.
You guys don't have broken token or anything, right?
Oh, we
do. Yeah.
Are you in the whole box?
I didn't get the crate. I didn't get the wooden crate, but I did get their insert, which I love. Yeah. I love that it takes the inventory of all the things and puts it in twos. So, like, there's 2 containers for Dahan. There's 2 containers for Invaders. 2 energies. That kind of thing.
It's helpful when we play together.
Yeah, because I'll just put one by my side of the table, and if we have people on the other side of the table, I just give it to them, and hey, they got theirs, and hey, man, you want to spot me an energy? Oh, you got one in front of you. Ah, sweet. It just, cleans up a lot.
Yeah, I could see in a 4-player game, especially, like a bigger game, like having the double sets.
So, what has solo gaming taught you about Spirit Island that you may not have learned in multiplayer? Are there any particular lessons that were maybe driven home a bit clearer for you? Or did you have a good grasp on, okay, I think this is what the experience is going to be like? Then you played it and that's exactly what I thought.
I just think solo gaming, in any game that has like asymmetric spirits or characters, heroes, whatever, when you can really just focus on the one spirit at a time, you just learn how deep and rich each spirit is. It's a little more in your face and easier to grasp. Like, for me, it's like, all right, when I now play multiplayer with spirits who I had played so much solo, I just find that a much easier thing. It's, I know that this spirit can be really strong. It might not be as strong multiplayer because, again, this power card I can't use myself now, or this spirit I have, whatever. But like, it's still, you get a sense of like what's possible with all these spirits in a way that I find really helpful as I kind of digested the game. I don't know, like if you're playing multiplayer at first, if you're not forced to cover your weakness, someone else is, it can almost stunt your ability to like learn like certain tricks and how to like cover your weaknesses, and also knowing when you need to dive into the power card decks and get the powers that you need because your spirit doesn't naturally have it. So I think that it's a much more rich experience that way too, because now you just get a sense of what's in that power card deck and how big it is. And when relative strength, the power cards that you're seeing in your power card draws, all the thought that went into that, man.
It's insane.
Yeah, it's nuts. What I need to do one day is like sit down and like look at each power card and discern why the elements are there that are there. Because whenever I do that, I'm just like, oh, that's so smart. Like, it's so good.
Yeah.
And the artwork on those cards is so good, but it's so small sometimes you just don't always appreciate it, right? And I love like all that depth that's there, that the nuggets that when you're in the middle of a game, sometimes you just miss. Yeah, it's really cool.
John is a Nolan Nasser fan.
Who did the artwork for River.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
I'm an Emily Hancock fan. I love what she's done with Starlight and Mist, the artwork. Of course, there's a bunch of artwork that I love, but like particularly that.
Oh, Miss is great.
Miss is
is really cool. Really cool thematic feel to Myth.
Got a question for you. Which experience would you recommend more to a solo gamer? True solo or multi-handed?
I think it depends on what they're looking for and how experienced of a gamer they are. By default, I'm always learning this game true solo. I mean, it's swingier, but I think it just an easier time. There's so much less to manage. Like that window has moved, right? I mean, the idea of what a complex game is today compared to 5 years ago, it keeps moving in the direction of increased complexity. But if someone's newer to gaming, like this game's not rules heavy in a sense, but to really wrap your head around the idea of targeting lands, what that means and slow versus fast. I mean, there's a lot to digest in your first few games of this. And I think True Solo just allows you to minimize what you need to learn. Like, and you're just learning one spirit now, just do that. Take Thunder Speaker, I almost want to say take Ocean, but I guess that's probably a bad idea. Take River, like take someone that you can do some cool things with. But if you're playing at level 1, I mean, you can take whoever deck you want, really, as you're learning. I do remember the days where I was losing at level 1, and I was like, oh my gosh, this game is so hard.
Yeah, I mean, we've all been there.
Yeah, we've all been there.
Yeah.
Yep.
But how many games would you have to play before you lost at level 1, right? Like, how unlucky would you have to get? Like, it just wouldn't happen for us now, right? That's what's so sick about the game.
Yeah.
Crazy.
I had a close game when I had to play Thunder Speaker in the Steam app on level 1.
I remember that.
Yeah, so
like, oh, I'm going to play Thunder Speaker. Easy. Oh, no. Almost died.
I get the achievement to like win a game with each spear. I'm like, oh, I'll do standard game with Thunder. Oh, no. I'm not the best with Thunder Speaker. Give me control.
Not dummy proof.
Yeah.
Yeah, Thunder Speaker does have its things where things can go wrong. I mean, you get a couple of events that make you lose at the
those
Hun,
disease events.
Again, you're against Sweden. It's like all of a sudden, woo! And then you lose at the Hun, you're losing your presence. Like, it can really snowball pretty bad. But then when it comes together with her, and you're like, I just did 27 damage.
When Thunder Speaker's cooking, it's like one of the best spirits ever.
Oh, she's sick.
70 damage.
She's absolutely sick. First time I beat level 6 France, I think, was with Fangs. And the first time I beat level 6, everyone else, I think, was all Thunder Speaker. Or Ocean, maybe.
Okay.
Right on.
Ryan also did Fangs against France in our level 6. It's a fun time.
That's a fun game. I mean, it's again, you can avoid the additional loss, you're fine. But that Blight, man, you get some Blight on the board.
Yeah, you got to walk that tightrope.
Oh.
And that slow healing ecosystem is not helping.
Oh, yeah, it's nasty. It's nasty. I think I need to do more of a major power dive with Fangs.
That's fun.
I've done a top track only Fangs with just playing 2 cards. It's fun.
Yeah.
Like Ryan said, like you can really sling majors with Fangs.
It's a decent energy spike of there.
Yeah.
It's not bad.
Yeah. And you get all the elements from the top track, too, so you're always triggering your innate.
I was about to say, you're still triggering Raging Hunt, so go for it.
Right. No, I can see it. Yeah, Fangs is just pure fun. As long as you don't get tipping point either.
Oh, jeez.
God, that card's terrible for me.
Take that out of the game. Eric Royce, take that out of the game.
You guys take it out?
About that. John, yes.
Me, not so much.
No, I'm totally tempted to. If there ever is a card that I think there's a good argument, like this is probably just not the game that you want, I do think it is tipping point.
Yeah, Laura hid it somewhere and I can't find it, but I'm also choosing not to look, so.
So, yeah.
Take that as you will.
Oh, your wife is great.
That's funny.
I forget who we were playing, but there was a game recently that we had it. It knocked us both down to 1 or 2 presents, and we still managed to get on top of it and win.
Nice.
But it was pretty nasty. And we were playing we weren't playing spirits that it was especially going to crush, like Fangs or Volcano or whatever.
It's still such a punch in the gut.
It's such a gut punch.
It just takes the wind out of you, like, oh, now I have no sacred sites for my slow power this turn. Cool.
And if a Volcano player just did their 10,
game over.
Yeah. No, it's bad. Man, I haven't been able to get Volcano up. Like, I feel like all my recent games with Volcano, I've had to do a lot of small explosions.
Well, there's nothing wrong with that.
Yeah. Go Badlands route.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah.
Yeah. Volcano's really fun.
Yeah.
I love the theme of that one. It's just crazy, man. Like, the whole box is just crazy.
Oh.
I'm always, like, super skeptical of expansions. I'm just like, But that one, I just started playing Stone vs. Hepsbok in my first game out of the box. I was like, ooh.
That's a good time.
Hello. I love the Badlands. I just love, like, so much of how it came together. Yeah, it was so good.
I was worried about Badlands. Or me and Ryan both were like, what are these going to be and how are they changing the game? We love them now. Love Badlands.
Yeah. We just friggin' love those things. Can't get enough.
I'm curious. I think Eric Royce recently just did another tweet about the expansion. So it was kind of related to, I guess someone had misinterpreted something he wrote. He was making it clear that he's definitely just a white dude and he's just looking for other perspectives. I'm glad he's still kind of talking about it because if anyone's going to come out with an expansion, I'm going to trust to be like play tested and like thoroughly thought through. It's that dude. Like, that's my problem with some of these companies. I'm like, man, you're putting out all this new content, but I don't trust you to actually get this thing right.
I really respect and admire the intentionality that they've had with the subject matter.
Oh, yeah. He's so intense, man. Like, and he's just brilliant.
Hey, anything worth doing is worth doing right.
Yeah, he takes it seriously.
Yeah. No, he's absolutely brilliant.
Well, in closing, Greg, as we go ahead and put a nice little bow on this fun time here, what do you have going on nowadays? What can people look forward to from you?
Well, what do I have going on these days?
2-year anniversary.
Yes.
I have my 2-year anniversary. I'm doing a live playthrough of Dawn of the Zeds, level 5, which I'm bound to get overrun by zombies. Yeah, working on just trying to learn a bunch of new games, get them on the channel the next few months. Street Masters, Cloudspire is going to be on the channel pretty soon. One of my patrons sent me a copy of Maracaibo. So
nice.
Wow.
Learn that pretty soon. You guys both like perked up. Is that like one of your...
It's
you guys
on the list
Yeah.
of famous games I've never played,
Something
but I want
play.
to.
Yep, definitely. Have us over.
Yeah, I played
Yeah.
it. I mean, I played Great Western Trail for sure. So like I've heard it just like Great Western Trail on water. So
Right on.
yeah, he's like, I think you'd like those. I'm like, all right, dude.
Yeah.
Thanks.
I'm not going to punch a gift horse in the mouth.
So yeah, just kind of keeping things moving with the channel. I mean, obviously 2 Minute Bones, Spirit Island, Maze Knight, Arkham, those are kind of my go-to every month. But yeah, the channel's been crazy. I'm kind of in between jobs right now, so I've had a lot of time to focus on it. You know, at some point I'll have to figure out more of this work-life balance stuff and where this channel fits in. But for now, I'm just enjoying the extra time to put some playthroughs on the board, so to speak, and see what happens.
Right on.
You know, should cross 3,000 subs hopefully within a month.
Nice.
Congrats, dude. That's awesome. Cheers to you.
Cheers.
Yeah.
Cheers. Well, do you want to remind people where they can find you and your content?
Yeah, I appreciate that. It's solo playthroughs on YouTube. Went really, really original with the name. Just kind of thought really long and hard and tried to find the most unique name I could come up with. So yeah, solo playthroughs, spelled just like it sounds, should come up the first hit at this point if you go to YouTube. If not, you might have some Slicker Drips playthroughs on there. Just put solo playthrough Spirit Island. It will definitely come up.
We'll put a link to your channel in the description of this episode.
Yeah. And then I'm on Twitter at solo playthroughs. Playthroughs is PLAYTHRUS because the entire word would not fit. So you can find me there. I'm on Facebook. I have my solo playthroughs Facebook page. You can follow me on there, but everything goes on YouTube. And I have a Reddit thing too. I think I have like 20 people following me on there. So all solo playthroughs all the time, but
Nice.
That's what it is.
Well, thank you so much for taking the time to join us. I've been looking forward to this for a while, ever since I was made aware of your existence. I was like, another Spirit Island content creator? Yes. We must join forces.
Yeah, I'm trying to remember when I first learned about your podcast, and then I remember at some point, it was Ozzy. Ozzy's one of your guys.
Hey! Yes.
Yeah, Ozzy was like, you guys should collab or something. He wrote some comment at some point. I was like, yeah, that'd be fun. Ozzy makes comments on my videos, fair amount. Yeah, then I started listening. The Stupid Build definitely became part of my common parlance. So all my friends call it Stupid Build. So
it's so stupid.
You guys need to learn
I hate it with a passion.
Go die, England.
Dude, come on with like Kindred Spirit podcast, down with the Stupid Build t-shirt or something, man.
We gotta bring out that
There's
swag.
a marketing place somewhere.
The merch.
Dude, Kindred Spirit swag would definitely play.
I would love merch. I would love that. Well, once again, thank you so much for coming on. I
Thanks,
hope you've
Greg.
been able to enjoy this. I certainly have.
Yeah, you guys gotta get the Gen Con or something. We'll meet up at one of these conventions one of these days.
Yeah, I'd love that.
That'd be awesome.
I'd love that.
We'll bring our swag. We'll bring the merch.
We'll get some t-shirts. We'll sign each other's.
That sounds good, man. It's been real.
It's been real. All right. Well, y'all, until next time, I have been Ryan.
And I'm John.
And I'm Greg from Solo Playthroughs.
And we will catch you guys on the Flippity Flip.
Peace out.
We appreciate that you took the time to listen to this episode of the Kindred Spirit Podcast. We're grateful that you did, and we hope that you thoroughly enjoyed it. Feel free to interact with us on our socials. You can catch us on our Facebook or Instagram, as well as Board Game Geek, Reddit, and Discord. Consider supporting us on Patreon, where you'll get access to episodes early as well as our private Discord. Links to all of those will be in the description of this episode. Have a great one, and may the elements be ever in your favor.